How's it going? Can y'all hear me? I'm trying to experiment to get this stream set. How's it going? Can y'all hear me? I'm trying to experiment to get this stream set. How's it going? Can y'all hear me? I'm trying to experiment to get this stream set. How's it going? Just bear with me. I'm trying to experiment to get this. Just bear with me. I'm trying Can y'all hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Let me pull up a past performance real quick of the Belmont Stakes. So I think with the Belmont Stakes, there's not a lot of. It's a good betting race, but then it's not a good betting race because in the Kentucky Derby, you could cover 3 or 4 horses and still get good value, so you don't have to rely on just one horse to make your day. Whereas it's looking like in the Belmont, your top horses are Tacitus, which is probably going to go off at 2-1, War of Will 2 or 3-1, and I think Spinoff will be bet down to inside 10-1, somewhere between 5 and 10-1. There's just not going to be a lot of value to be able to spread around. I think with War of Will, one of 2 things is going to happen. He's going to run in the Belmont and run well, or a couple of days before the race, they're going to scratch him and say he hurt himself somehow, and that's just code word for he's not ready. So, but it's kind of, I'm still debating on who I like. There's a lot to like for each horse. You got Tacitus, who won the Tampa Bay Derby. Then he won the Wood Memorial. He ran pretty good in the Derby given everything that was going against him pace-wise. I still don't get how they let Maximum Security get away with 2 straight races of slow paces. You would think after the Florida Derby they would have done something different. One of the jockeys would have said, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to do it by running faster fractions. So I thought Tacitus done really good given everything that was against him. Plus he took a couple of Derby bumps. So you can't count him out for winning. Everybody's going to have their preferred horse. I'm still, probably by Wednesday or Thursday, I'll make a video talking about who my picks are going to be. I'm still, like most of y'all, still trying to look at footage and look at past performance, look at past angles, trying to figure out who I like. Master Fencer, I like the way he closed in the Kentucky Derby. He came from dead last, and I'm actually going to put out a video sometime tonight about him. Do I think Joevic could pull a Datar and have an easy gate to wire win? I don't think so. I think Spinoff's is going to be the horse that makes him press the pace. If you go back and watch Spinoff's, the allowance optional claiming race he ran before the right before the when he went out to the Fairgrounds Louisiana Derby, he was up and on the pace and pressed it, and I think that's when he runs his best. So I think that's what he's going to do, is be up there. Joev is not going to have a easy win. He's going to have to run, I'd say 23.5, maybe 47, 47.5 for the opening fractions. And we'll get back to Master Fencer. I watched some of his races in Japan. I wasn't too impressed with it. I don't think the Japanese horses are very good. I know they made a deal with Belmont to, I think the owners of the horse get like an extra $1 million or something ridiculous, and in return Naira gets more money from the Japan betting pool or something like that. But I wasn't too impressed with Master Fencer's last workout. I'll try to pull it up real quick. Pretty much in the workout, I think it's the same one that he had that little stutter step. But you just see the jockey going to the whip on him in the workout, and it wasn't even a fast workout. 5 furlongs in a minute 1, and we'll play it. This might be the wrong date. I'm not entirely sure just yet, but we'll find out. Hang on. Oops. But yeah, right here he's going. See the jockey's going to the whip on him, which you very rarely see in a workout at all. And then he's going to have that little stumble, and he's going to the right-handed whip, then back to the left-handed whip. I just didn't like that workout. There's not much video footage of his past workout, so I don't have much to compare it to. But I don't know, you just don't ever see that. So I wasn't encouraged by the workout. Let's see. Do you think Spinoff being outrun in Louisiana Derby is a sign that he can't handle the 1.5 miles or not? I think he's got the bloodline for it. I looked through his sire. He won or finished second at 1.25 miles, then won at 1.1 miles. There's not a whole lot of races in the world ran at 1.5 miles. So it's kind of tough to get that gauge. Just kind of watch to see what different sires Offspring does it run in the Belmont. But I don't have a reason to think that he can't get the distance. I just kind of assume if you can get a mile and a quarter and then you have the good tactical speed, I think it helps to get that mile and a half. So I don't think the distance will be the what holds him back, being able not to get the distance. I wish that War Will hadn't had that little stutter step at the beginning that completely misfired in that race, because it makes, I'd like to see both of them run their A plus race. That'd make it a lot easier to handicap. But if you like Spinoff, you're going to get probably 8 to 10 to 1 on him, which is not bad for a Pletcher horse that has that Derby to Belmont angle going for him. And he did finish second in that race and almost had first. I think when he got the lead, he just relaxed maybe a little too soon. I don't know. But he's still a lightly raced horse. I think that was only his third or fourth, maybe no, fourth or fifth lifetime start. So, who are y'all liking in the Belmont? What does that say? They said that Tax, I guess his workout wasn't too encouraging, so they're gonna the trainer's 50-50 on if he's gonna run or not. But based on the workout, I couldn't go with Tax. I wouldn't be surprised to see him taken out of the Belmont. Or if he runs based on the recent workout, I couldn't go with him. You don't want to hear a discouraging workout right before a big race. But I think the whole day, besides the big race, there's money to be made up and down that card. You got the Met Mile, which is probably running 6 or 7 deep in contenders. I like Matoli a lot. I like McKenzie. I think he improved since his race with Giftbox, and I don't think McKenzie wants to go a mile and a quarter, which is weird because his bloodline says he should get a mile and a quarter. But to me, he seems more of a miler type horse, so I think the Met Mile is going to be right up his alley. Matoli's came back and ran really good as an older horse. I'm not buying into Thunder Snow and the Pletcher horse. I'll have to look it up real quick. See if I can pull it up on Equibase. I think the actual past performances come out Tuesday afternoon for the Belmont. So when I do another live stream on Wednesday, it'll be easier to do some of this. Where's the Met Mile? Here it is. But Cold Front was the Pletcher horse I was trying to think of. If you go back and watch the Godolphin Mile, he had to work really hard to win that race. And I don't think Heavy Metal is that good of a horse, not one of the top older horses anyways. So I couldn't go with him. Firenze Fire is an interesting horse because I do think a one-turn mile is right up his alley. And he ran really good in the Run Happy Stakes. Now he ran 108.12, but the track on that day was playing lightning quick. That was the same day as the Peter Pan. And even the 4th place horse ran the Peter Pan in like a minute 47. So take that for what it's worth. He ran a fast time, but he is going to have to work if he's going to win this race. McKenzie I like a lot. I think Baffert will have him ready to fire a big effort. Matoli I said I like a lot. And promises fulfilled. I'm going to go ahead and say that he's going to be my long shot pick for the Met Mile because he last raced in the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year. I think came back, his first start of the year was in Dubai, and the Dubai trip and back takes a lot out of horses. So I was a little surprised they started him straight in Dubai without a prep race at all. But he still ran good, only beaten by 3 1/4 lengths. Then he ran in the Kentucky Derby day in the undercard. Got third by 4 lengths. That was his first start since Dubai. So you'd expect him not to be fully cranked to his full capability. So I think the Met Mile, you're going to see the best of promises fulfilled. And if he can run back to his form from last year, he's going to be very tough to beat in that race. McKenzie is a quitter. He switches his tail and quits when challenged. Watch his races. I do think in the stretch, McKenzie works a little harder than probably seems like he should to win some of his races. But I think if there's a distance that would benefit him the best, it's going to be that 1-turn mile on Belmont Day. So I think Baffert will have him as good as he's going to get. So I'll probably put him in an exacta or something. And then Tale of Silence is running in it, but I don't think he's going to be up against it. He hasn't really done much at all as an older horse. Then Thunder Snow, I don't really like him. I just don't think the horses that race over in Dubai are really that good. I know Thunder Snow came and got second last year in the Jockey Gold Cup at Belmont, but the pace in that race was just falling apart big time. So I think that helped him out. And then I thought besides Accelerate, the Breeders' Cup Classic field was really weak last year. Actually, I think the older horse division as a whole was just real sorry this year. You've had a lot of horses that I thought retired earlier than they probably should have. So in return, you're getting what you get this year, where 3-year-olds are running faster than some of the older horses in a lot of the stakes races. The way the field shapes up, Closer will probably have a hard time this race. It should be a slow pace. Talking about the Met Mile or the Belmont. I think Spinoff and Joeva is probably going to be the two that's in the front. I think Joeva is going to take the lead, and then Spinoff's going to be sitting just off of him. And then War Will's probably going to sit his usual, depending on where he draws the post, probably maybe sitting third or fourth. He's going to be forwardly placed, but I don't think outright on the lead. And then let me pull up the past performance for that. Of course, Everfast is going to be sitting towards the back of the field. He reminds me of Cherry Wine from a couple of years ago, who snuck up and got second in the Preakness, but then didn't do anything in the Belmont. So I don't see Everfast being a factor at all. I think Intrepid Heart might sit probably mid-pack. I think he lacks some of as much tactical speed as some of the other horses have. Master Fencer, he's going to be sitting towards the back of the pack. See, Owendale's not there. Sir Winston's going to be towards the back. Let's see, Spinoff. I think you're going to see him run closer to probably his Tampa race style, or maybe halfway between. He was a little bit further back in the Louisiana Derby, but I think somewhere between these two races, he's going to be forwardly placed. I think Tacitus will be probably mid-pack in this race. I think he has enough speed because he just has that. I just think he holds his speed so well around the track. He's not the fastest, but what speed he does have, he carries it so well. Tax, I think, will be sitting about third or fourth in the early going. And Morrill will. I don't think the pace is going to be all that fast, but I could be wrong. It only takes 2 horses to hook up with a fast-paced race. But I still don't think Joeva is going to win, even if he gets to set his own pace. He's just not as talented as some of the other horses. If you're looking for best value in the Belmont, I'd probably say Spinoff, because he does have the head-to-head win over War Will, and I thought the Louisiana Derby came back really good on the, when I kind of do my personal little par figures to kind of see how fast some of the races are, because I don't trust like the Beyer speed figures, Equibase. Well, I trust Equibase a little bit more, but I try to make my own at least a little bit. And the Louisiana Derby actually came back when I done it quicker than the Arkansas Derby. So in that case, I think Spinoff does provide the best value, because he's going to be probably 8 to 10 to 1 if you just roll out his Kentucky Derby effort, which I guess he doesn't like the slop or pick the wrong day to run a bad race. I don't know. And then Intrepid Heart's going to offer some decent value. I think him and Spinoff probably go off about the same price. But it's tough to get behind Spinoff based off of the or not Spinoff. It's tough to get behind Intrepid Heart based off of how he ran in the Peter Pan. I know he had that stumble at the start, but he didn't do much running after that either. But Commissioner, who's kind of following the same path, ran second in the Peter Pan back in 2014 for Pletcher, and then came up and got second in the Belmont. And there's the same bloodline connection between the two. So if you want to maybe see a coincidence in history repeating itself again, then Intrepid Heart might be a good one to sneak up and get second. Because how many times have you seen a race and a horse win and you're like, there's no way, and then go back and look and the trainer done it with the same pattern like 2 years ago. So I could see putting Intrepid Heart somewheres. But I just hate that there's not going to be a lot of ways to, you kind of got to get behind 1, maybe 2 horses and hope that you pick the right ones, because you're not going to see a lot of value. But I don't really like to do win bets anyways, because I want to play to have a big day at the track. And if you do win bets, let's say you bet $100 on a 10 to 1, the most you're going to get is $1,000. Whereas if you do an exacta, maybe you do a $20 or $30 straight, then you got a chance to win the same 1,000 but spend a lot less. Or in the case of the Kentucky Derby, where before the disqualification I had done maximum security over Country House, just $10 would have almost made me $5,000, and then there's no telling what the trifecta or superfecta would have paid if it would have stuck. So just keep that in mind, that if you're playing for value, those 2 horses are going to offer a lot of good betting value for you. But I think the horses, I'll start off with the horses that I would say for just about for a fact are not going to win the Belmont, and that's number 1 is Everfast. He in his 2 best races, he's only got second, so I don't see him having too much of a step forward move to get first. I think you can rule out Master Fencer winning after watching his workout. I wasn't too impressed with him. And Tax, they've had questioned his workout. He has a 50-50 chance of getting scratched. So I'll say no for Tax winning. Who else? Joeva, he's not going to win. He'll be a factor in the pace, but that's about it. And Bourbon War, I think you can count him out from the win spot. His only best race so far was aided by a really fast pace in the Fountain of Youth. But I could see him getting third or fourth. He's got the bloodline for it, and he was training at Belmont before the Preakness, but they tried to send him there and then done a equipment change. So I could see him maybe getting third or fourth if he reverts back to his old ways. But I'll say your four winners are going to come between War Will, Tacitus, Spinoff, and Intrepid Heart. Somewhere in those four is going to be your winner. Global Campaign. Last I heard, Global Campaign's not running in the Belmont. That could always change, but they said, I think the trainer for him said early on that he wasn't planning on running him in the Belmont. But then Baffert said that he was going to run Game Winner, and the day after I made the Game Winner video, he changed it and said he wasn't going to run him. So you never know. They could sneak in a last-minute horse like him. I think probably the worst thing that could happen betting-wise is War Will get scratched. Because then it's only going to really narrow it down to just about 2, maybe 3 horses. So there's going to go any type of value in the race. Whereas the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness both had, I think they both paid $50,000 for the Superfecta. I don't see the Belmont being a big payout. I think it's going to be maybe $1,000 for the Superfecta, probably $100 or $200 for the Trifecta. But your best chance to make some decent money is to find those good horses to throw in third or fourth, because first or second it's only going to come down to about 3, maybe 4 horses for that. So the most I've seen Exacta paying is maybe 10 to 1. As far as I know, there's not a big chance of rain. But that's still, the Belmont's still a week out, so that could change in a heartbeat. But I can't remember the last time there was a rainy Belmont. Like, it seems like for the Kentucky Derby, it's always raining just about every single year. I think 2016 was the last year it didn't rain when Nyquist won. Don't think War Will hits the board. I did find it interesting with War Will. I had to look back at Classic Empire, and Classic Empire remember he ran in the Derby and the Preakness, and he actually had a workout like he was gearing for the Belmont, whereas War Will doesn't have any workouts. Mark Cassidy said he's just going to take him out for a couple of gallops, and that's it. So I don't know if he's trying to say that maybe War Will's getting tired and he's trying to conserve what little he has in the tank for the Belmont, or I don't know. But if he got scratched a couple of days before the Belmont, I wouldn't be surprised at all. We've seen it happen throughout the years with I'll Have Another got scratched from the Belmont a couple of days before. Classic Empire got scratched. Any other races y'all are interested in knowing about on Belmont Stakes Day? I think there's 10 stakes races on the card, 8 of them Grade 1. So If there's any other races y'all are curious about, we can go over it now. I just think that whole card is a good day to make money. Three Tappet sires in the Belmont. Yeah, the way they're going with Tappets by next year is going to be 8 or 9 Tappets, because it seems like now if your horse is a Tappet, he's try him in the Belmont, because from what I can tell, they're 100% in the money. I've looked back all the way from 2014 on, and I haven't seen a Tappet that's finished out of the top 3. Another stakes. Let's see what we got. We'll do the. How about the Acorn Stakes? I think that one's going to be another one where probably the favorite wins it again. To me, Serengeti Empress just looks like the horse. Excuse me, the horse to beat. Whatever happened on the Fairground Oaks Day, I don't know, but she didn't show up. But if you look at the Rachel Alexandra race and then the Kentucky Oaks, she just looks like, to me, by far the best horse, and she's going to be up on the lead. She's cutting back to a one-turn mile, so I think that's going to suit her very well. I'm still not entirely sure yet who the who's all going to be in it. I heard Cookie Dough's probably going to be in it, and she's got a new trainer now, Kieran McLaughlin. But I wasn't a big fan of this horse as a 2-year-old and even into 3-year-old. So unless she really turns that horse around, I don't think she's going to be a factor in the race. I think if I'd have to say my best bet of the day is probably going to be Bricks and Mortar in his race. To me, he's just the top older turf horse right now. Just off the top of my head, I can't think of another horse that could compete with him. So if you're looking for a way to maybe put down, I don't know what y'all's bankrolls are going to be, maybe put down $7,500 and on Bricks and Mortar, or key him on top and exacta, but I think that's your chance to potentially double your money right there. So I'm going to say best bet of the day is going to be Bricks and Mortar. To me, that's the most confident bet of the day I could make is Bricks and Mortar, and hopefully he won't be bet down to 1 to 5. But let's see what else we got. Oh, the Ogden Phillips. That's going to be with older 4-year-old females. I think Come Dancing could be a factor in it. She's had a couple of good races for Carlos Martin, but I don't know if they'll run her back. And she is in the nominated for it. Midnight Bisou, I think her time's coming where she's about to take a loss. I don't feel like she's impressed me in the last couple of races. No, one of them was just a really slow-paced race. The Azure, that was a super slow-paced race that day. But still, the 3-year-olds ran faster than she did, and she's supposed to be one of the top female horses. And then in the Apple Blossom, she ran 1:43.88. That was on Arkansas Derby Day. But she'll probably go off as the favorite, but I think her time's coming where she's going to take a loss. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be this coming Saturday. Let's see who else. Not a whole lot nominated to the field. Marley's Freedom, if they decide to run her in it, then I don't know. She might be good on the stretch out. It depends. Let's see. And I'd say right now, Come Dancing probably be my top choice for that race. Yeah, that's what I like about Belmont Stakes Day is that you can make money without betting 20 to 1s to do it. Like I remember a couple years ago, it just seemed like I was hitting every single race, and every horse was at 2 or 3 to 1. But to me, they just stood out so much. And there's only a couple of days a year where it seems like you can pick some favorites. They just consistently come in, and Belmont Stakes Day just seems like where races are ran how they're supposed to be ran. Like other days, like take like Kentucky Oaks undercard. That to me, that's a tough day to bet because horses that look like they got a chance just don't seem to do it. There's a lot of long shots that come in that day. And then Breeders' Cup's another day where it's good to go against the grain. But Belmont Stakes, you can go with the grain and you can potentially do good. So take a look at the Met Mile. Some of these horses that are, because this is just a nomination past performance, this ain't the official entry, so some of these won't be in it. But Cold Front, as far as I know, is supposed to be in it. But like I was saying earlier, he didn't impress me too much in the Godolphin Mile. He had to work really, really hard in the stretch to be able to put heavy metal away. As a matter of fact, I'll play that race. Alright. So we'll just get to the end of the race, and Cold Front's right here. He's the number 12, and just look how hard he's having to work just to try to get to this horse. The jockey's all out on him, going to the whip and everything, and he's just barely gets there at the wire. I don't like efforts like that against weaker fields, and he's about to take a step up in class. So I think you could eliminate Cold Front. Who else? Firenze Fire. He ran in the Run Happy Stakes, which we'll play that. And he was about as impressive as you could get in that race. And I'll pull up the Equibase charts after this and show the times. But he's the number 3 horse. But he sets just off the lead, and at the stretch he's going to take over and have a nice powerful kick and be able to pull away. And I don't think a mile was out of his range. I think, because remember, he started out as a 2-year-old into a 3-year-old winning some of the mile races. So I think a mile might be his preferred distance. I don't think Service had him fully cranked to run the first race off the layoff. But you'll see right about here, he'll just take off from the rest of the field. And Recruiting Ready is not a bad horse. I think he's declining in form from what he was early on in the year. Then Kill Billy Keg's captain was running at Tampa. He finished second to Flaming Way in the stakes race on the Tampa Bay Derby undercard that day. So I thought that was a good performance from Firenze Fire. Let's see, McKenzie. We'll play the Ali Sheba Stakes. And McKenzie's the one horse. He's just moved up in the second. But the Mike Smith was hard on him, trying to get him to pull away. But I do think with McKenzie, a mile is his preferred distance. So I expect him to run a big Belmont Stakes day, or a big Met Mile, I should say. He kind of reminds me of, I can't think of the name right now, but it was the Baffert horse that won a couple years ago, a Met Mile. I think one of y'all might know who I'm talking about, but I'm having a brain fart remembering the horse's name. But McKenzie kind of reminds me a little bit of him. Let's see, I'll remember the name in a second. Not Frosted. More Spirit, that's it. And we'll watch the race with Matoli. I don't even remember what the name of that stakes race is called. Can't find a video for it for some reason. See if I can do it this way. I can't find it for y'all. I was going to show the race, but Matoli I thought ran really good in that race, and I think he could be a big factor. And let's see. Pavel, there's been a couple of times I bet on this horse thinking that he was ready to turn a corner, but every time I bet on him, he's disappointed me, so I'm not going to bet on him in the Met Mile. Prince Lucky, if they run him, he'll be another interesting choice. But he didn't do much running in the Westchester Stakes. But if he can revert back to his Gulfstream Park Mile that he ran on the Florida Derby undercard in the House, hope he could be a factor in the race. And then Promises Fulfilled. Y'all heard it here first. He's going to be my long shot pick in the Met Mile. He was really good as a 3-year-old last year, especially towards the end of the year. Then he disappointed in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. and then he didn't show up again until Dubai. And I don't know why they didn't run him in a prep race before then. I thought that was kind of odd, but he's been around there. He only finished 3¼ lengths out and 4 lengths out in the race Mitole won. So if he can just take that step forward and get back to maybe his 3-year-old form, I think he could be an interesting choice. And let's see. Woody Stevens is another interesting race. That's 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds. And if they run Complexity, he'll be an interesting one, because he ran good his first couple races and got bet down to, I think, 2nd or 3rd choice on the Breeders' Cup Juvenile race, but I don't think he wants to go that far. But a mile, or 7 furlongs, I think, is right up his alley. Who else? Lexingtonian won the Chick Lang Stakes, but I don't think they're going to run him here. That only be willing him back too soon. Much better. He's trained by Bob Baffert, but he hasn't done much to impress me at all to think he could win. Mucho Gusto won the La Brea Stakes. But I don't know. This horse has ran good at times, and he's had a couple of races where he hasn't done anything. So I don't know what to do with him. And but it's tough right now to do some of these other undercard races. I know a few horses that's going to be there, but it won't be until Tuesday afternoon when the fields get finalized, and it'll be much easier to go through and say who's going to be in what, because when you look at the nomination past performances by Equibase, you get so many trainers that nominate horses that are not going to run, that you could look at horses that ain't going to be there. I think another probably as close to surefire bet as you can get of the day would probably be World of Trouble. He's supposed to run in the Japierce Invitational Stakes, 6 furlongs on the turf. If you follow this horse the last year or so, you know he can run on any surface, and he's just a ball full of speed. And I don't think any of these other horses, just looking at them off the top of my head, could give him much of a challenge. But yeah, here he is. His last race in the turf sprint on Churchill Downs Day, I think he caught a little bit of maybe a slow pace on that, so he got a low time. His Carter race on the Wood Memorial undercard, that was a really slow pace race for a 7 furlong sprint. Now, I do think this horse is starting to lose a little bit of his form. I don't think he's as good of a horse as he was towards the August, September last year in the Breeders' Cup. I think he is starting to get on the downside of that form. But I don't think it's going to be tomorrow that or not tomorrow, but next Saturday that he loses. I think it's going to be more of the maybe Saratoga where he loses. Yeah, Mind Control is a good horse. He always shows up. Let's see, we can look at Ohm. He hasn't done much really the last year. He's finished 6th, 4th, 4th, 13th, 5th. Uh, I think I'd have to play against him. It's been a long time since he's seen first place. But I do remember at one time he was a really good turf sprinter. But just looking, I don't see any horses that could give World of Trouble too much competition. Let's see. You can't ever count on a Wesley Ward horse on the turf. So maybe he could sneak up, but I don't think at 6 furlongs this horse will do it. I'd have to look into it more when they finalize the field. But right now, I just don't see anybody that could beat World of Trouble. Just the game stakes. Let's see. See, this will be 1 mile on the turf. See, Bo Recall, he's in good form right now, so I'd have to consider him for win consideration. Let's see. Russian Falls, a pretty good Chad Brown horse. It's not a very big field so far. I'd say right offhand the race would probably be between Bo Recall and Rushing Fall. We'll have to see if anybody else sneaks up in there. But what are some things y'all want to see on the stream going forward? Would y'all like to see a maybe daily stream in the morning from like 8 to 10 for a couple hours on the days that the major tracks are open, and I could handicap along some of the races that day? Or do y'all want to see once a week? Or what would y'all like to see moving forward as far as live stream goes? This is y'all's chance to put comments in the section and let me know what y'all would like to see going forward. Daily streams for races. What tracks would y'all like maybe one day be, like say Belmont on a Wednesday, then Gulfstream on a Thursday, live stream on Belmont Stakes Day? Now that day I actually have to work on that day, so if I'd done a live stream on that day, it wouldn't be till probably just before the race, maybe a couple hours before. But I definitely plan on streaming. Let's say Wednesday night we'll talk about the Belmont Stakes, because that'll give the field time to get finalized. They can come out with past performances for the whole race card. So I think Wednesday night that'll probably work best for me on this one. But I think during the week, sometime on a Wednesday or Thursday would probably, I might have to switch it up because I do work 12-hour shifts, so I don't have the same days off every week. So one week would probably be on a Wednesday, the next week be on a Thursday, but I will definitely get on and talk about, that's the time on Wednesday they come out with Saturday's past performances. So I could see that, and in the morning time from maybe 8 to 10, I'm free during that time to do. We can look at some races that are at major tracks that are racing during the day, and I could handicap along. If y'all got a certain race y'all want me to take a look at, I could look at it. We could watch videos of it. But I'm about to sign off here for a little while. Those of y'all that came to hang out for a little bit, I appreciate it. And there's going to be plenty of more to come. And stay tuned tonight. I'll have some more videos coming out. But thanks, y'all.